Joining me now is New South Wales Independent MP Tania Mihailuk and former New South Wales Police Minister David Elliott. Here we go for another week. Gosh, it goes quick, doesn't it? Okay, now look, let's start with the economy. The Commonwealth Bank is tipping interest rates will be left on hold until the end of the year. It comes as the unemployment rate dropped to 4.3%. Look, this is interesting. I mean, not good news for mortgage holders, but what do you think, Tania, this says about the economy?
Well, it's interesting because Jim Chalmers was this morning spruiking the Australian economy to some investors at the Sydney Opera House. But, you know, I don't know how honest he is with the outlook for the economy in Australia, because at the moment we've got some real issues around productivity. We know that real business investment has been at a lull and stagnating for the last 18 months. We've come in and out of, for the last 2.5 years, of per capita GDP recessions, which has been a huge problem. And GDP growth is slow. It's 1.8% this year. It's earmarked to be 2.1%. But if you read some of these economists, not a lot of them are convinced that they'll actually eventuate. No. The only thing growing in Australia at the moment is the public service. Okay, it's a ballooning bureaucracy and anything related to NDIS. That's the only job going in Australia. But the private sector is suffering and it's weakening our economy as a result, and that's the real issue. Yeah,
that NDIS is a complete behemoth. But you raise a good point about productivity. Wasn't the Labor Talk Fest a couple of months ago, David, wasn't that supposed to solve all of the economic issues, including productivity? And then look how swimmingly it's going.
And no child's going to live in poverty.
That's right.
This is Labor Economics 101. I mean, 4.3% is... I grew up when working families were paying 10%. So I don't panic when interest rates are at a 4. And when you consider that the unemployment figure is so low and therefore there is healthy employment levels around around Australia, if that's the price we have to pay is just a little bit of an interest rate burden, I'm comfortable with that. But again, as we've all said, productivity should be the name of the game right now, and so should the red tape and the green tape that business is facing, because I think that's probably 50% of the productivity burden that they're carrying.
Yeah, I mean, who would want to go into business right now into this country with energy prices, red tape? You know, you've got the unions with their finger in every pie. I mean, it's just a nightmare right now. Now, look, the Victorian Premier Jacinta Allan has now officially signed a treaty with Indigenous people into law, claiming it marks a new chapter in the story of our state. Quote, new chapter for the 65,000 who identify as Aboriginal, not the overarching 7 million residents of the state, Tania. Look, there was no debate. Nobody actually voted for this. In fact, the majority of Victorians said no to the voice. So why is it there, do you think?
Well, look, the Labor Party was always going to do this. So I think there was no question of that. You know, they had a referendum. I don't think anyone believes that they really cared what the outcome of the referendum would be. And Jacinta Allan has 12 months left, we hope, of her term before an election. And as always, this is legacy building for the Labor Party too. They're going to rush and make sure that anything they've already announced, like the treaty, is well and truly in place, so that it'll make it almost impossible if a Liberal government is elected in Victoria to scale it back. And of course, they've got to reward all these activists that back the Labor Party, and this is all about unelected activists getting a job, and that's the only people that will be rewarded as a result of this treaty. It's not the 65,000 Indigenous that live in Victoria that will be supported. It's all the activists that were part of the Voice campaign that all need a job now.
Well, I mean, that's a good point. And I was having a look, David, at some of the immediate changes. So schools, children between prep and year 10 will be indoctrinated into truth-telling curriculum. There will be an Indigenous body which will oversee training programs for public servants to ensure they are culturally capable. Again, what on earth does that mean?
This will not assist one child get a better education. This will not assist one child to get to break away from malnutrition or sexual abuse. This will not make the life of one Indigenous kid in Victoria better. It is very, very dangerous and indeed silly for Jacinta Allan to do this. What part of no don't you understand? And I think that this will rightly become an election issue. She doesn't have the electoral mandate to do it. And I'd say that what we're going to find at the next election is that if the Liberal Party and the Coalition are smart, Without wanting to make it a partisan political issue, they will highlight the fact that you can't trust these people with policy because when you give them your opinion, they ignore it.
Yep, exactly. And as I said, nobody ever voted for this. There was no public debate. It was thrust upon Victorians. Like the voice was thrust upon on all of us. And 60% said no, rightly so. Now, look, taxpayers have been slugged more than $425,000 to fly the E-Safety Commissioner, Julie Inman-Grant, and her staff to 11 countries in 3 years. Have a look at this schedule. She's gone to the US, the UK, Switzerland, Germany, France, Italy, Singapore, Japan, Belgium, Ireland, and the Netherlands for a whole heap of meetings. It's quite the itinerary, Tania, for someone who's quite desperate to censor the whole internet.
Yeah, a lot of self-care there.
Self-care, it's great.
The E-Safety Commissioner. I thought the whole remit of the E-Safety Commission was that it's about safety online. Why not actually go to these conferences by Zooming in or on Teams?
Yes.
Do an online conference. It's unbelievable, that itinerary. Swiss Alps as well included in there. Look, I think people should be rightly concerned about the level of expense coming out of this authority, and it is an independent authority, unfortunately, so they can't even be questioned at Parliament. It's unbelievable what they're about to get away with and have got away with. And David knows, as politicians, we get a little small story if we've gone and spent $5,000 on a trip up to Brisbane or something, you know.
Let alone $425,000.
Well, I mean, Tania's right. I would have thought that a commissioner in charge of technology use technology to attend these events. I mean, if I can use Zoom meetings to have CEO hookups from around the country, surely she can have Zoom meetings to have these this correspondence with the Swiss and the Americans and the like. It's just bad juju. It's a bad image for the public sector. It's a bad image for her, and it just highlights the fact that some of these people in the Canberra bubble live in a completely different world.
They live in a bubble. They live in a bubble. Now, David, let's talk about your Daily Telegraph column this week. Wise Christmas drinks calls will save your inner elf. So people will judge you based on your drink. Is that what you're saying at Christmas parties?
Yeah, I think judging people at Christmas parties is a healthy thing to do.
Okay.
I think that not only we get so hung up on how much they consume. I think quality and quantity is.
So what do you drink?
Well, I have a cheeky champagne to start with.
So what does that make you?
And well, I'm probably a lady.
All right. So
I'm probably going to. I can now.
I read this article. I was really concerned that you said that Bankstown people have VB.
Well, I'm from Bankstown and I normally start the day with VB. It's a great breakfast drink. Don't be judgmental.
I don't drink beer, but I did a survey. Apparently, it's Lashes.
I know.
There's a whole bunch of other beers.
Because you people have gone middle class since I left. You people in Bankstown have become too middle class since I left. I'm going to have to come back and start sorting them out.
You have to go back. Well, look, if you want to know what your drink says about you, do catch up with David Elliott's column in the Daily Telegraph. It is quite a laugh, and it's quite good at the same time. It'll tell you everything you need to know about yourself.
Self-assessment.
Self-assessment. We all love a bit of self-assessment. David Elliott, Tania Mihailuk, thank you as always to both of you. We'll see you again next week.